Dear students and my teacher friends, Namaskar. I welcome you to the presentation lecture on constipation. Now, the spelling of constipation, Constipation. Now, how we should pronounce this? So, many a times we are pronouncing it like a constipation, but actually we should pronounce constipation. Here, con means together and stip to press. So together, pressing, that is constipation. Now the definition of constipation refers to infrequent or difficult defecation. Now defecation means discharge of feces from the body. That is defecation. So many a time person feels the difficulty to discharge the feces, that is constipation. And infrequent means let's say the person is not able to defecate for 1 or 2 days, that is also constipation. Now what is the reason why this constipation is caused to the person? So the reason is decreased motility of the intestine. Now, what refers to the motility? What is the meaning of motility of intestine? So, motility of intestine meaning the movement which are taking place in the wall of large intestine. So, in the wall of large intestine, there are three kind of movement. One is segmentation. The first figure is for the segmentation. Second is peristaltic contraction, and the third is mass movement. Now we need to discuss all three. Now first is segmentation. Now in the wall of colon there are longitudinal muscle are present, and the bands of this longitudinal muscle, they contract in the colon, and this contraction of longitudinal muscle band, they form the pouches. So here in the figure you can see these are the pouches, and these pouches are formed due to the contraction of longitudinal muscle. Now what is the importance of this pouches? That these pouches, they churn and mix the fecal material. So they are churning and mixing the fecal material, but they generate little propulsion. Propulsion means moving forward. Here in this case, for the fecus we are using. So this segmentation movement is not generating the propulsion for fecus, but fecus is churned and mixed in these segments or the pouches. And this segmentation occurs around every 30 minutes. So fecus churn and mix in this pouches. This movement is called as the segmentation. Then with the blue arrows, the movement that is shown, this one is the peristaltic contraction. Now we know in the entire GI tract, peristaltic contraction occur. For example, the esophagus, stomach wall, or the large intestine, small intestine, everywhere this peristaltic movement is taking place. Now similarly, this type of movement also occur in the wall of the colon. So the waves, small waves of the muscular contraction and relaxation of the muscle present in the colon, this contraction and relaxation they are pushing the feces toward the rectum. So due to the peristaltic contraction, as you can see in the figure, the feces is pushed and the feces is moving toward the rectum. So this movement is the peristaltic contraction. And third type of movement in this figure, this one is the third type of movement. Now what is this movement? So this movement is known as the mass movement. Okay, and this movement takes place around 3 times per day. Now when this mass movement start, so it start when the food arrives in the stomach. Okay, so when the food arrives in the stomach, the large intestine is stimulated for the mass movement. And what is mass movement? So mass movement is actually slow moving powerful waves of peristaltic force, and this peristaltic force apply the pressure on the pecus. So the pecus from the transverse and descending colon, the fecus enters into the rectum. Okay, so here you can see due to the mass movement, the fecus is now finally entering into the rectum. So in normal human being, in the large intestine, these 3 kind of movements are taking place. But the person who is suffering from constipation, in that person's body, there are some difficulties in this kind of movement. So that's why over here in the definition, we are reading this definition. Constipation refers to infrequent or difficult defecation caused by decreased motility of the intestine. So when we say decreased motility, so that 3 kind of movement. Now then, many a times the person who is suffering from the constipation, in his body, what is happening, the fecus remains for a longer period of time in the colon. And when the fecus remains in a longer period of time in the colon, what happens? The excessive water is absorbed from the fecus. And since the large amount of water is absorbed from the fecus becomes dry and hard. So excessive water absorption, then prolonged staying of fecus into the colon, these are also the reasons for the constipation to occur. Then third point, poor habits of the person. For example, delaying defecation. Now delaying defecation, that many times the person is having very stressful life. For example, the person is busy in his office work, or person is busy in the reading. So even if he is having the nature's call, but that person is somehow delaying to answer the nature's call. So when we are delaying to answer the nature's call, and when we are not using the toilet at the proper time, so that is also one reason for the constipation. Then the spasm of the colon. Spasm means spontaneous and sudden contraction of colon. So in the person, the spontaneous and sudden contraction of the colon are also lacking. So that person also suffers from constipation. Then in person's diet, insufficient fiber are present. Fibers are not present in sufficient amount, then inadequate fluid intake, person is not drinking much of the water during the day, person is not performing the exercises, person is under stress, person is using certain kind of drug. So these are all factors for constipation. Now the common treatment for the constipation, that the person is given the milk of magnesia, and this milk of magnesia induces the defecation. Now generally the physician, the doctor, they avoid to give this milk of magnesia, because many a time what happen, this milk of magnesia is habit forming. Habit forming means, let's say 5 to 10 times the milk of magnesia is given to the person who is suffering from constipation, then what happen, that person will form the habit of taking this milk of magnesia every time. So whenever he is suffering, then that time he will be induced to take this milk of magnesia. So that's why. So to avoid this constipation, person needs to add fiber in his diet. So in our food, fibers should be included. Then regular and daily exercise one need to perform. Then time to time sufficient amount of water we should drink. Okay, so these are the safer ways for controlling the constipation. Okay, so with this we have completed the discussion of constipation. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation lecture, and I also hope that this presentation lecture will be helpful in your exam preparation and also in your studies. My name is Manish Kosti sir. I am from Ahmedabad, India. Bye bye. Namaste.